Finally a win. The Bucs defeated the Atlanta Falcons 35-22, which should have actually been 35-16, but they scored on that, garbage time touchdown with their backup. But still, this was probably the best all-around performance from the Bucs all season. Offensively, defensively, this is exactly what we've envisioned when we thought about how the season was going to go. A really hard-hitting, attacking defense and an offense that can put up really big numbers and move the ball with ease. So, yeah, before I get into my reaction to this game, I am Rami B. If you are new here, make sure you click the subscribe button down below. I post weekly Buccaneer reaction videos. And yeah, let's get started. So, Jameis Winston, 18 of 28, 313 yards, 3 touchdowns and 2 interceptions. It was really a true Jekyll and Hyde moment from Jameis. The first quarter, he threw 2 picks, really bad picks, and it was like, oh God, here we go. Here's another game where Jameis just implodes. But if any quarterback in the NFL can throw picks and come back in like nothing ever happened and really just flip the switch, it's Jameis Winston. After those 2 picks, he played amazing. Great decisions, great accuracy. I think he only had 10 incompletions total in the entire game. I mean, 18 catches, 313 yards. That's what, like 15 yards a catch or something like that, a completion. So very great performance. That touchdown to Chris Godwin, that 71-yarder, was threading the needle so close. But yeah, that entire second quarter all the way through the end, amazing performance by Jameis, like one of the best I've seen him this season. Probably better than the Rams game, honestly. The Rams game, he had his 4 touchdowns, 1 pick. Here could have been more touchdowns, but we decided to run later in the game since we were up and wanted to burn some of that clock. But great performance by Jameis Winston. Very promising to see that as the game went on, he had better decision making in terms of not taking sacks, throwing the ball away and things like that. There was one play, I think in the 3rd or early 4th quarter, where we were in the Falcons red zone and Jameis got hit, broke out of it, broke out another sack, and then just tossed the ball away. Normally he would just throw it into the end zone, it'll be a pick. So great maturity on there. Hopefully something we can see moving forward, but we'll see about that. We know how this season has been. Chris Godwin, though, exploded. 7 catches, 184 yards, 2 touchdowns. He now has 1,070 some yards on the season, which would probably put him at 2nd place. Great performance by him. It seems like always him or Mike Evans always show up. Today was his game. He was virtually unstoppable. It's like the Falcons completely forgot that he was on the team. That 71-yard touchdown, like I said, beautiful. His 2nd touchdown catch, the ball was thrown behind him. He got his one hand on it and somehow, as he got hit, directed it back to himself and came up with the touchdown. That was a 2-yard touchdown. So imagine, take away that 2 yards, his average even goes up even more. So I'm very grateful that we have him on the team. Chris Godwin, probably the toughest offensive player that we have. He blocks linebackers. He's willing to do all the dirty work. He can take hits. He's a very, very tough guy. Very, very reliable hands as well. So very grateful that he's on the team. And then Mike Evans. Mike Evans had 40 some yards. I think he finished now with the season. He's at 1,033, right behind Chris Godwin. Both of those players are going to be in the top 3 of yards. Definitely top 5. We'll see how the other players go. But has any team in NFL history ever finished with 2 receivers on the same team in top 5 receiving? Like that's insane. Since 2014, this is the first time 2 players on the same team have reached 1,000 yards. 2014 was Vincent Jackson and Mike Evans, and I think that happened later in the season because remember Evans got to 1,000 in the last game of the season, and then he was taken out, and that was the game we kind of threw away to get Jameis and get that 1st overall pick. But the fact that both of them did it in week 12, 11 games in, honestly, both players could end the season at 1,400 plus yards. And both in double-digit touchdowns. Like, that's got to be the greatest receiving duo in NFL history if you put the numbers together. So, yeah, great game from both of them all around. 2 players at 1,000 yards this early in the season. Great accomplishment by the offensive coordinator, play calling, all of that. Speaking of play calling, Byron Leftwich put together a hell of a game plan. We were very balanced running the ball. I think we rushed the ball over 120 yards as a team, throwing the ball over 300 yards, spreading the ball out. Good effective runs, not the mindless, let's run it on 1st down up the gut and get stuffed. We had good chunks of yards on our runs. Our pass plays were very dynamic. We had Vita Vea in there, catching a touchdown pass as well. So it was a very creative game plan from Byron Leftwich. So I got to give kudos to him for that. I know we've bashed him in recent weeks because of the play calling, but today seemed like a good all-around game, which is interesting because the Falcons shut down the Panthers on the road and shut down the Saints on the road the last 2 weeks and held both of them to I think 9 points total, didn't give up a touchdown, and to us they gave up like 4 or 5 touchdowns. Like, great offensive performance at their house. Yeah, I guess their turnaround wasn't as good as it is. I wouldn't be surprised if they fired their head coach today. Yeah, we'll see what the Falcons do, but great play calling on that end. Now, switching to the defensive side, the D-line, best defensive performance by the D-line all season, stuffing the run, 6 sacks, a forced fumble on Matt Ryan, which was recovered by Ndamukong Suh, scored a touchdown. Vita Vea caught a touchdown pass and also got a sack. He's like one of 6 players in history to get a touchdown and a sack on the same game. Great performance all around by the defensive line. Devin White got 2 sacks. Carl Nassib, I think, got 1. JPP got 1. Shaq Barrett got 1. Vita Vea got 1. Everybody got to eat. I don't know what was different this game and why the defensive line was hitting home and the blitzes were hitting home and all that. Maybe because the coverage was also better, which I'm going to go into the secondary now. This was probably the best game by our secondary in the entire season. I know you can talk about maybe the Carolina game, but I think this one is better because they have better weapons and Matt Ryan is healthy. When we played Carolina, Cam Newton wasn't really in his best form. I don't think he played another game since then. But all around, Carlton Davis, I think, had 5 pass breakups. Jamel Dean had 5 pass breakups. That's 10 between them both. I think Vernon Hargreaves all season had like 3, so good decision to, to get rid of Vernon. I think it's good that Jamel Dean is continuing to play and dominate. I think he should be a starter for the rest of the season. He has the most potential out of anyone, and if Carlton Davis continues to play the way he's playing, we could have a really solid secondary in the coming years as they gain more exposure and experience in this system. But Jamel Dean, 5 pass breakups, it's insane to think he didn't play last week at all against the Saints. Like, we could have really used him. Great coverage, not giving receivers too much cushion. We had an interception by Carlton Davis on that nice ball that he stole from Calvin Ridley, just ripped it out of his hands. The downside of the secondary, or like the defense in general, is there was an opportunity for 4 other picks that were dropped. Carlton Davis dropped one. Ndamukong Suh almost had a pick at the line. There was a couple different opportunities where our defensive backs got hands on the ball and dropped it. So I think this week we should really put them on the little throwing machine, I forget what it's called, and just have our DBs catching balls. And just because when they're getting their hands and getting past breakups, there's opportunities for interceptions. So I think that's a solid performance all around. And I want to give credit to Todd Bowles for calling a hell of a game plan on the defensive end, where our secondary was playing real tight coverage, limiting Atlanta's opportunities, and then our D-line was feasting. It shows if our D-line is a solid, it's a good, if not top 10 D-line. If our secondary can hold out, our D-line will be able to feast like it did today. Nassib is a solid player on the end. JPP, as we know, is elite. Shaq Barrett has shown that he is elite. Ndamukong Suh and Vita Vea up the middle are both, solid studs that are not going to get pushed back, are going to eat up two offensive linemen each and let our defensive ends have an opportunity to crash in and get home and get sacked. So I think if our secondary can hold up the way it has been in this game, if it can hold up in future games, we could see a lot more wins. Like we said, when we limit other teams to under 30 points, we typically win because we're able to put up so many points. But if most of the time we're letting other teams score 32, 33 points a game, and we're not able to win in those situations. So great performance from the defense overall in this game. I don't want to be nitpicky, but on special teams, Matt Gay missed 3 extra points. 1 of them was blocked and 2 was missed. Not a good performance from him. I'm not too worried about it because he bounced back. I think he leads the league in the most 50+ yard field goals, or maybe it's like 45+ yard field goals. He's still a solid kicker. Every kicker has a bad game, and I think this is just one of them. I wouldn't be so, I wouldn't trip over it like we have been in the past, because he's shown us that he can consistently make kicks. So I'm not going to get down on him for that. Whatever it is was the issue. Maybe it was the field, maybe it was the turf, I don't know, but I'm not worried. He's going to get it fixed. But yeah, I think overall a great, like I said, all-around performance, solid performance all around. Had we made those extra 3 points, it would have been what, 36 to or 38. It would have been 38-22. That was the only thing that kind of hurt. We missed those 3 extra points, so we could never really build a really comfortable lead. We were always like 15 points ahead or 12 points ahead. That would have put up almost 3 possessions ahead had we made those extra points, but still not so mad about it. Great win overall, great win by Bruce Arians' his staff, great preparation after I think we got curb stomped by the Saints last week. It was good to see that we were able to come back and bounce back for that. Next week we have a home game against Jacksonville, and again, they haven't really been the best team. They're really hit or miss, and I think that's a game that we can take, especially if we play as well as we have today. I want Mike Evans next week to show up 100+ yards, Chris Godwin another 100+ yards. I want a running game to get 100+ yards. If we can get that, then we win that game for sure. So yeah, thank you for tuning in to my Bucs reaction. Once again, I'm Rami B. If you are new here, make sure you click the subscribe button down below, and let's go Buck Nation. It's a Buck life. Let's go. Let's rack up these wins and finish the season on a strong note. But yeah, on that note, I am out.
Our offense tough, our defense rough. Go Bucs, go Bucs. Ain't no other team stopping us. Go Bucs, go Go Bucs.